Okay, Matt Walsh. I've heard the name a few times, and some other creators who I consider to be friends, you know who you are, Plan a Walk, have covered him too. But today's video from Matt is not a topic that he normally covers, and that topic would be science. I mean, he's wrong about most things, but he's moved out of his traditional lane, and it doesn't go well for him. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. So, Matt Walsh. Last month, Matt released a video entitled The Real Reason That It's Hot Outside, and then decided to have a pop at the science behind climate change. Now, this is not a surprising opinion for Matt to hold, considering his usual stance on things. But by the end of this one, you'll see that it's not a very well thought out video. We start as Matt has just finished watching a few newsreels about the staggering heat that many people across the world had to deal with during July. Let's remember that southern Europe was dominated by forest fires, as was Hawaii very recently too. Here we go.
So in other words, it's hot. Yes, it is hot. The hottest it's ever been, they tell us. It's never been hotter than this. Representative Ilhan Omar tweeted this. This is the claim that she's making, and not just her. She said, the Earth just broke the record for the hottest day in 120,000 years. In fact, we broke in on 3 separate days. We broke it, I think she meant to say. We broke it on 3 separate days. National climate emergency now.
This is an absolutely correct statement, as we're about to find out.
Wow. The hottest day in 120,000 years. Now, I mean, that sounds pretty bad. I admit. If we just experienced the hottest day in 120,000 years, then something's going on. Like that's bad news.
Despite his masked sarcasm, it actually is. Probably.
We still couldn't do anything about it. You can't actually do anything about it, but that would be bad news. The hottest day in 120,000 years, that's significant at the very least. But before you go building your ark in preparation for the coming worldwide floods from the polar ice caps melting and all the rest of it, you should take some solace in the fact that what Ilhan Omar has claimed here is total, absolute nonsense. Okay, that's the one, there's really only one problem with it. The one problem is that it's completely bogus. Other than that, it's true. Other than the fact that it's entirely false, it's actually true.
Clear as mud, Matt. Very interested to hear your reasons why, though.
Now, how do I know that it's bogus? Well, because needless to say, we do not have daily temperature records dating back 120,000 years, okay? So you can't say it's the hottest day in 120,000 years because that would require you to know how hot it has been every day for the last 120,000 years, and you don't know that. Nobody does.
That is a bit pedantic, but what we do know is the absolute high points. Now, this is a graph of the average temperature for the last 800,000 years or so. And you can see here, in the last 120,000 years, the average was nowhere near today's average. So we can quite confidently say it most likely was the hottest day, especially with the very accurate records we've had over the last 200 years.
In fact, we can't get anywhere close to that in terms of our records. And that's why it's not possible to go and look and find out what the weather was like on, say, August 7th in the year 4000 BC, much less the year 40,000 BC. That information does not exist. We have no idea. It was not recorded.
It wasn't, no, but the average was. And that is what Ilhan Omar was talking about, the average. July 3rd to 4th's average global temperature was 17.18 degrees Celsius. That was a record.
So what the hell is she babbling about? I mean, where is Omar and where's the rest of the media getting this? Is she getting it from her own fevered imagination? Sort of, but not entirely. Her imagination is being fed by the media. So The Hill, for example, published an article with this headline a couple weeks ago, and here's the headline. We're experiencing Earth's hottest weather in 120,000 years, and it's just getting started. So that's probably pretty directly where she got it from.
Most likely, yes. Let's see how much of this he shows.
Although even there, you see, that's not exactly the same claim. She said this is the hottest day in 120,000 years, but the headline is, we're experiencing Earth's hottest weather, which is a little bit more vague.
Well, yes, but to be fair, July was also the hottest month on record globally too.
But even so, how do they know that? I mean, how could they possibly know that we're experiencing the hottest weather in 120,000 years? Well, they answer that question, or they pretend to answer it anyway, with this. So I'm reading now. It says, how can experts be so confident of these bold assertions? As a climate specialist, I'll do my best to explain. It's all fairly simple and fully expected by the climate science community. First, researchers know using observations that temperatures over the past decade have been warmer than any ever seen since record-keeping began in the 1800s. Since then, Earth has warmed by 1.2 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists also know, through sophisticated methods of examining copious climate clues in proxy data like tree rings, ice cores, ocean sediments, etc., that Earth's average temperature has not been this warm since the Ice Age ended 20,000 years ago.
And this is absolutely true. You just cannot deny the data on this. You just can't.
Between 10,000 years ago and today's rapid man-made warming, Earth's average temperature was relatively constant, allowing human civilization to thrive. There were disruptive regional cooling episodes like the disparate Little Ice Age events, but the impact on overall global temperature was relatively minor. Since at the peak of the last ice age, Earth's average temperature is about 10 degrees cooler than today, and it's not been this warm since the last ice age, we call that time the last interglacial, in between glacial periods, which peaked around 125,000 years ago. Okay.
Which is precisely what this graph here shows. And you can see the peaks in history. The alarming thing, of course, is that the current peak threatens to go higher.
So that's it. That's the science. Using proxy data like tree rings and ocean sediments, scientists can come up with a guess as to the average global temperature dating back thousands of years, supposedly.
Indeed, it was the average global temperature of today that we were comparing it to. Now, it's very interesting to note that Matt didn't show this graph from that report. Does this sharp line here look like a natural curve on the graph to you, Matt? Something that would happen if humans weren't here? No. No, it doesn't.
But here's the problem. Well, there are too many problems to count, but here's one. Even if these guesses are correct, or approximately correct, and that's a big if, okay, they are averages. They are not precise daily measurements.
Now, this is a classic example of Matt thinking in 2D, just like a flat earther. Now, he thinks we're trying to compare really hot days with really hot days. He's seen that it's been really hot recently, and he thinks that we're saying, right, well, it's been 56 degrees today. What temperature was it in mid-July, 123,000 BC? Such a flat earth move, Matt. As I said before, we are comparing the averages.
Okay, Ilhan, that's not what they are. You can't look at a tree ring, Ilhan, and find out what the temperature was at 4:56 p.m. on July 13th in the year 7 AD.
See what I mean?
Tree rings are not that specific. Just doesn't work that way. Which means that the claim that yesterday was the hottest day in over 100,000 years, or 120,000 years, is not supported by any science at all. It just is not. There's no basis for it. Even the more ambiguous, more vague version of that claim, there is still no science for it. There simply isn't.
You can't just say there is no science supporting it because you don't agree with it. There is science supporting this, Matt. I've just shown you. Now, let's see what he really thinks is making it hot outside at the moment.
But there's one other point that I have to make here, and this is, so if there's a tradition of panicking over the hot weather, or at least some people, the media, and Democrats panicking over it, the other tradition is where it seems like every year I have to explain what I'm about to explain here, and it's this. And I know for a lot of you, this is not going to be news to you, but just bear with me because there are some people who need to hear it. Now, here's what I'll tell you. If you're wondering about the hot weather, you're looking around and you're saying, wow, man, it's hot out. Where's all this hot weather coming from? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from my SUV that I drive to the store? Is that where it's coming from? Is it coming from all the cows farting and sending methane gas into the air? Is that what it is?
Your tongue-in-cheek answers there are not funny, and if I'm honest, a bit cringe. But not as cringe as this.
Well, I'll point your gaze in a different direction, although don't look directly at it. Because in case you hadn't noticed, there is up in the sky, about 90 million miles away, a giant glowing ball of gas, which is big enough to fit 1 million Earths inside of it, and it burns at its core at about 27 million degrees Fahrenheit.
Told you.
It is so big and so powerful that its gravitational pull extends 50,000 astronomical units into space. and one astronomical unit is 93 million miles. So 93 million times 50,000, you do the math on that. That's how far this object's influence extends. In modern terms, you might even say that what I'm talking about here is the sun, if you didn't already guess.
Yeah, good one, Matt. Great joke. Oh, you got more.
The sun is the greatest influencer in the solar system. You could search all of TikTok and you would find very few influencers who are as influential as the sun. That's how influential it is. So here's my point. That big old thing in the sky, that glowing ball of gas, we just heard a comparison to atomic bombs. Well, the sun generates the equivalent of like several billion atomic bombs of energy every second. And that's what calls the shots on Earth. It determines the temperature. It determines everything in terms of weather.
Okay, you are mostly right, but this is where moving out of your lane opens you up for criticism. Let me explain this one to you because I feel like you need to hear it. You are correct. The sun has a massive influence on the planets. However, Mercury, the closest planet to the sun, only 70 million kilometers, has an average surface temperature of 167 degrees C. The more switched on of you will already know where I'm going with this. Matt, maybe not. Now, Venus, at a distance of 108 million kilometers from the sun, has an average surface temperature of 475 degrees C. That is weird. A planet that is 38 million kilometers further away from the massive influence of the sun than the closest planet actually has a global average temperature almost 300 degrees higher. My point here, of course, is that atmosphere matters. Venus has a thick atmosphere of carbon dioxide, whereas Mercury does not. That extra 38 million miles closer has made no difference. And we here on Earth, as in the human species, continue to pump that CO2, carbon dioxide, into the atmosphere. Now look at this clip here. This shows the cumulative buildup of CO2 in the atmosphere over the course of 2021. I think you'll agree, quite striking. But it's fine, Matt. We're 150 million kilometers away from the sun. I'm sure we'll be fine. Oh, I enjoyed that one. I wonder if Matt will get to see it. Who knows? Well, there we go. Another Tinfoil Tuesday, all done and dusted. Thank you so much for watching today. It truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it today, please do hit that thumbs up button, and also please do subscribe to the channel. We're getting very close to 500,000 now. We're going to get there soon. Thank you so much. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you all on Friday for the Flat Earth Fail compilation 49. See you then.